Hello YouTube, and welcome to another Elder Scrolls lore video. Today we'll be talking about the Forsworn. Who are they? What are their goals? Why does nobody seem to talk about them when they're essentially a second large-scale rebellion in Skyrim? I mean, even around Skyrim's launch there wasn't much talk about the Forsworn. I hope to answer these questions today in this video, so let's immediately start. Ever since the early First Era, there's always been an area spanning parts of High Rock, Hammerfell and Skyrim, which is called the Reach. It's not just the Skyrim hold, but it actually extends far further into High Rock and Hammerfell. It's an area approximately looking something like this. This area, while it's not officially its own province, is often seen as the rightful area of the Reachmen, who are essentially a sub-race of the Nords and Elves, a sort of Bretons who claim it to be their ancestral homeland. While in lore the Reachmen are not Bretons, in the games they are in fact just portrayed by Bretons, but keep in mind that there's a distinction between the lore and the games in this case. Probably Bethesda just didn't, bother make another race. Ever since the first empire of the Nords, the Reachmen have often been assimilated into Nordic kingdoms or Imperial empires, as their relatively small society never really stood a chance against the combined power of the Nords and the Imperials. In addition to that, they were always technologically at a disadvantage, as they were very tribal and very traditional, as you can see in their weapons and armor. This all left an ingrained hatred for both Nords and Imperials within their culture and a really great desire for self-rule. Over the course of history they often fought back against the Nords and the Imperials, like for example the Reachman hero faolan Red Eagle who fought against the Empire. And they even once had a short-lived period where they were the most powerful faction on all of Tamriel during the dynasty of the Longhouse Emperors in the Second Era. This period of roughly 70 years saw Reachman King Dukarak the Black Drake get power over the Imperial city and found the Reachman Cyrodiilic dynasty, eventually even conquering High Rock and the remainder of Cyrodiil. This little dynasty went on for about 70 years, and if you wish to know the specifics about that, you should consider watching the end of my old lore video on the Reman Empire, as I talk about them in detail there. What I wish to illustrate is that the Reachmen have always seen themselves as a separate faction, not belonging to the Nords or the Bretons, and just being their own thing, and with a desire for self-rule, and that they even had moments of greatness in history. Their culture is wildly different from the Nords, Bretons and Redguards, with creatures like hagravens and briarhearts playing a large role in their society, with hagravens and witches often taking leadership positions and adoring veneration by their Reachman subjects. During the Great War against the Altmeri Dominion in the Fourth Era, the Empire had to recall almost all its troops from Skyrim in order to combat the invasion from the south, leaving Skyrim and in turn the Reach, or at least the Reach part in Skyrim, very much exposed to anyone with a grudge against the Empire or the Nords. The Reachmen saw this too, and in the year 174 of the Fourth Era, the Reachmen, under the leadership of a man named Medanek, rose up against the Imperial and Nordic occupation, ousting the Jarl of the Reach, taking control of Markarth and pushing the occupational forces out of the Reach. As far as we know, this only goes for the Skyrim part of the Reach, with High Rock and Hammerfell parts staying out of this, although they might also have been part of this uprising. We simply don't have any sources saying one side or the other, so I don't know. This uprising resulted in the Reach becoming a short-lived independent kingdom under the rule of King Medanek. Sources conflict on the things that went on inside this kingdom. Forsworn supporters claim that the kingdom was peaceful, with only the staunchest Nords unwilling to surrender to Reachman authority being put to the death, while others described that it was a ruthless dictatorship under Medanek, in which anyone who didn't agree with him got put to death. In the end, this kingdom was once again subdued to Imperial rule in the Markarth incident, on which I also made a video, where Nordic militias under the command of none other than Ulfric Stormcloak took back the city of Markarth in the name of its ousted Jarl. The Reachmen were then decisively defeated and had to flee the city. King Medanek and many of his top lieutenants were captured and imprisoned in Sitna Mine, while those that were able to escape fled into the hills. Medanek was kept alive in the mine, as the Silverblood family hoped to control him and the Forsworn through his imprisonment, but as we can see in Skyrim, it didn't really work out that way, as Medanek managed to work around that. Those who escaped the slaughter in Markarth first hid themselves, regrouped in the hills, and then started to fight guerrilla warfare against the Nords that occupied the Reach by capturing forts, attacking mines, raiding supply caravans, and even trying to infiltrate Markarth in order to spread panic among its citizens. In this guerrilla phase, they officially got the name the Forsworn. We don't know whether they gave the name to themselves or whether that was the name given to them by the citizens of the Reach or by the Empire, but that's what they eventually came to be known, and we know that they at least accepted that name, even if others gave it to them. Look only at the first time when you enter Markarth and you see a Forsworn assassination taking place on the streets. In addition to that, there's also a lot of sleeper cells, Reachmen living under Nordic rule, but sympathetic to the cause and willing to aid the Forsworn. It's something that many people don't really seem to realize, that there are actually two civil wars going on in Skyrim. It's just that the Stormcloak one is way more effective and therefore way more talked about. Because while you can help Medenek escape sit in a mine or kill him during the Forsworn questline, that questline is really short. It only has 3 quests essentially, and has no true effects. I mean, Reachmen will still kill you everywhere, even if you decided to help Medenek. You can't help take over Markarth again for them, or you can't decisively defeat the Forsworn. Even if you kill Medenek, they're not defeated. To many, the Forsworn are simply overglorified bandits, with the only distinction being their unique armor and weapons, which they wear in order to honor their culture. Other than that, many players just see them as bandits, and because of that they are relatively boring. Many people don't really seem to bother learning about them, which is a bit of a shame, as their story is quite interesting. But it at least feels like their questline should have been longer, and perhaps there would have been more interactions, but perhaps that was just cut from Skyrim. I don't know. I just think that they're a bit of a waste of potential. They're interesting, but they're not that deep in the game. That said, I hope you enjoyed this video. Before I end it, I want to say that I might scale down a little on video production and have some weeks be just one video, as I've noticed that making 2 videos simultaneously with work and university every week is quite stressful, and I can't do very large topics due to the limited time between videos. So in order to get some bigger topics out there, I might have to do a few weeks where I do just one video, and then for the rest of the weeks between it I'll just remain on schedule like this. You know, with this whole situation it's a bit so-so. I'll see how it goes, but don't be surprised if I sometimes miss an upload date and then get a bigger video out on the next upload date. With that behind us, allow me to thank my top patrons: Bernardo Binda, Mr. Para, Gabriel Binda and Mr. Christmas. These people, along with all the others on screen, make my weekly lore series possible, and I'm very grateful for it. And that's my cue to end this video. I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.